So your problem what you have asked is a horizontal tube contains a stationary air at 1 atmospheric pressure. So P1 equal to 1 atm. P1 equal to 1
Sir,
atm.
hello.
Yes. Yes.
We can't see your screen.
My screen is not visible.
No, sir.
One second. Now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So the problems what you have asked is a horizontal tube contains a stationary air at 1 atmospheric pressure and 300 Kelvin. The left end of the tube is closed by a movable piston which is at t equal to 0, is moved impulsively at a speed of Vp equal to, that means the piston speed equal to 100 meter per second to the right. Okay, so find the wave speed. So they ask us to find we have a piston like this, we have a we have a shock tube like this, and here it is a piston, and the air is stationary here. So because of the impulsive force of the piston, we have Vp equal to velocity of the piston equal to 100 meter per second. The piston is moving at 100 meter per second. Because of this, we have a shock is formed. The shock will be moving because of the impulsive force of this piston. We need to find the speed of the shock. That's why they are asking find the wave speed, that is Cs, and also the pressure at the face of the piston. That means here we will consider it as region 1 and this is region 2. So this will be the pressure phase, that is P2. Here it will be P1. Okay, so the stationary air is already at a pressure of 1 atmospheric pressure, and it is at a temperature of T1 equal to, this is for pressure. Okay, and T1 equal to 300 Kelvin. Okay, so this is the problem. So what we need to find is we need to find Cs. So I will write some formulas regarding this, because with that formulas only we will see the how we derived that formulas, how that formulas, why we are choosing this formulas and all that, and all we will derive it later. But right now we need to solve the sum. For solving the sum we can use some formulas. Okay, so here since the velocity of air is at rest, so what we will say means this speed of the shock will be considered as v1. Okay, so velocity of the piston, that is Vp equal to, for Vp we have a formula like Vp equal to v1 minus v2, and since v1 is we will consider that as Cs, so Vp equal to Cs minus v2. These are some formulas. Okay, just I'm writing some formulas. After that we will try to solve this, solve that. Okay, Cs minus v2. But here we have and what we need to find is we need to find the P2 value. So we all know the pressure P2 by P1 relations and all, but we can just write the P2 by P1 relation so that we can check whether we can solve that sum by using this relation. Okay, so first we can write P2 by P1 because we know here two pressures, so straight away we can write that equation and we will check. So 1 plus 2 gamma divided by gamma plus 1 into m1 square minus 1, but we don't know the Cs velocity, so we can't find that this equation, that is P2 by P1 equal to, we all know other values because for air the gamma will be ratio of specific heat will be 1.4. we can substitute that, but still we don't know the Mach number value, because here we have two unknowns. This is also unknown, this P2 is also unknown, and this M1 will also be unknown, so we can't find that value. Okay, so our next step is we need to check whether we have formulas regarding for finding this P2 by P1 or finding this M1. Okay, so we have one formula like Vp equal to A1 divided by gamma, A1 divided by gamma into P2 by P1, P2 by P1 minus 1 into 2 gamma divided by gamma plus 1, the whole divided by P2 by P1, P2 by P1 plus gamma minus 1 divided by gamma plus 1 whole power 1 by 2. See here, we know the value of in this problem they have given the value of VPS 100, so we can write 100 here. We know the value of gamma, but we don't know the value of A1. Okay, but we know here the temperature they have given on term like a temperature T1 equal to 300 Kelvin. So we know A1 equal to square root of gamma RT, square root of gamma R T1. Okay, so by substituting the value of gamma R and 0.4 into 287 into for T1 they have given 300 Kelvin, so 1.4 into 287, this is 287 into 300. So just calculate the answer for this and tell me, somebody please. Guys, anyone? Hello, students, are you there? Yes, just tell me the answer for this A1.
347.19.
347.19. Okay, so we can substitute here 347.19 divided by 1.4 into P2 by P1 minus 1, P2 by P1 minus 1. Same way here, 2 into 1.4 divided by gamma plus 1, that is 2.4 whole divided by P2 by P1 plus 0.4 divided by 2.4. Okay, whole power 1 by 2, whole power 1 by 2. So simplify this term and just solve the value for solve this value and find the answer for P2 by P1, P2 by P1. Easy only, just cross multiply these terms and you need to bring these terms here. and need to solve this, and we can find the value for this. Okay. Please try to solve this. First do like this. See, we can keep this 100 here. First do 347.19 divided by 1.4. Calculate this, and also here also you can calculate this also. 2 into 1.4 divided by 2.4. Okay, this same way you can calculate this also. Just calculate this. After that it will be somewhat simple for solving this. Then after that you can cross multiply these terms, so that it will be easy for you. What is the answer? Please tell me. Students, do you got what the answer?
Sir,
Yes.
is it 0.172?
0.172. Okay, we can solve this. Actually, I know the procedure. We are solving right now only. Okay.
Oh,
What you got?
172.
0.172. Okay. Just do you have calculator with you?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Just put a value for 0.4 divided by 2.5. What is the answer? Just tell me. 0.4 divided by 2.4.
0.167.
0.167. Okay, almost
Yes.
the right one. Okay, fine. So, okay, fine. No problem. So, P2 by P1 equal to 0.172. Okay. So now we have the value for P2 by P1. Okay. So next what we need to find is, we know the value for P1. So P2 equal to 0.172 into 0.172 into 1. So we will get 0.172 only. So P2 will be 0.172. But answer is somewhat differing. We can check. Okay. So others got the same answer. Students, any others got the same answer, 0.172, or you got some other answer? Actually, the answer what we need to get is 1.505.
Sir, I got 1.646.
1.64. Yes, it is right only. 1.64 is almost the same only, no problem. So, but here the answer need to be P2 will be equal to 1.505. Okay, so almost it will be same only. Okay, we can proceed. So after finding the value for P2 by P1, what we need to do is we need to find the value for CS. Okay, so for finding CS, we have another one formula here. That is CS equal to, because we have formulas like VP equal to CS minus V2, but we don't know the value for V2. So we can't go with this formula. Okay, and in this formula also we don't have the value for, or we don't have the term for CS. So only thing we need to do is we need to find some other formula which relates this P2 by P1 or VP terms and all. Okay, so here we have one formula like CS equal to A1 into square root of gamma plus 1 divided by 2 gamma plus 1 divided by 2 gamma into P2 by P1 into P2 by P1 minus 1 plus 1. Okay, this plus 1. So by substituting it, we will get this root is up to this only. Okay, by substituting the value for A1, we know the value for A1. We also know the value for P2 by P1, and we know the value for gamma also. By substituting it, we can find the value for CS. This is how we need to find the value for CS. Okay, just substitute it and find the answer. Sorry, this root is up to here. This whole thing. Okay, sorry.
That's coming 414.90. 414.90.
Okay, 414. Here the answer is CS equal to 413.1 meter per second. 4133 meter per second. Right only, correct only. Okay, because in gate and all they will provide some limitations for your answers. That means from 410 to 419, like that they will give some limits. So within that limit, you need to your answer should be there. Okay. So this is how we need to solve this sum for finding the moving shocks, because for moving shock the shock speed will be there, so we need to find the value for the shock speed. In some cases they may ask, they will give like here also the velocity, some there is some velocity, then CS will not be equal to V1. There will be some change in uh, fluid velocity downstream also, upstream also. Okay, okay, this is how we need to find. So just note this formulas, this VP formula, then the CS formula also. Okay.
So what is VP here, sir?
VP is the piston speed. See, actually we didn't cover this topic because we are going to we have classes for this topic later only. Okay, we didn't come to that syllabus and all, but somebody asked, I don't know who that is, somebody asked this question, how to solve this sum and all. That's why I just, okay, I can we can solve this sum one day. That's why I took this question today. Okay, so this is how we need to solve. If you want that answers means, you can just message me. Okay, I will try to solve when I have time. So now you guys understood how to solve this sum if moving chalk is type problem is asked. Do you guys noted this sum? Shall we move on to next one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So other problems and all we will solve after covering the syllabus. Okay, then only it will be clear for you and all. Without um, clearing the knowledge for all those terms, you don't understand what is going on. Just you will remember the formulas only. Okay, so we will go through the topic, and after that we can solve the sum. Now we can move on to our 1 second. So next thing, last classes we have seen about nozzles and all, but today we are going to see about the diffusers. Okay, so in a supersonic test wind tunnels, supersonic aircrafts and all, the diffusers will differ when comparing the subsonic flows and all, and the subsonic diffusers and all. Okay, we know the for a supersonic nozzle. Anyone tell what how the nozzles of supersonic? What type of nozzles we have for supersonic for increasing the velocity? Normally, what will be happen for a diffuser? What is the function of diffuser? Anyone?
Converting kinetic energy to pressure.
Yes, it converts the kinetic energy into pressure energy. Actually, the function of the diffuser is to slow down the velocity for a wind tunnel. Means after the test section, the velocity need to be slowed down. Okay. For a supersonic aircrafts and all means, first of all, for combustion process we need to slow down the velocity, then only we will get the efficient combustion. The combustion efficiency will be good. Okay, so for that purpose we need to slow down the velocity. Afterwards, for supersonic aircraft, after the combustion process and all, in the nozzle we need to increase the velocity. But for supersonic wind tunnels and all, what we need is we need to decrease the velocity after the flow leaves the test section. So we have a constant area, some constant area ducts, or normally in supersonics and all, if we have a divergent section, we can increase the velocity for a nozzle. So opposite will be used for the diffusers and all. So we need a convergent duct so that we can uh, so for decreasing the velocity. Okay, so normally, but we can't design a ideal diffusers and all. See here, this is the actual supersonic diffuser, but this ideal supersonic diffusers and all, we can't design the same diffusers for supersonic wind tunnels or in supersonic aircrafts and all. So we'll be having this type of diffusers only. So, and the only difference for nozzle, we will be using convergent divergent diffusers for supersonic nozzles and sorry, supersonic wind tunnels, and also for supersonic aircrafts and all. Okay, so only thing is, for a supersonic nozzle we will be having the throat ratio very much lesser. But here the throat ratio, when comparing to the nozzle, the throat ratio for diffuser, that's area of throat for the diffuser will be greater than that of the area of the throat at the nozzle. Okay, just remember this, the area of the throat at the diffuser will be more when comparing to the area of the throat at the nozzle. Okay, So here we have one relation like this. With this relation you can understand. See, we are taking a in supersonic wind tunnels and all, there will be two throats. Okay, one is the throat at the nozzle and another one is the throat at the diffuser. So there will be two throats, and throat area ratio we can for designing a supersonic nozzle we need to know the throat area ratio. Okay, so for that purpose we have some one small derivation. With this derivation you can understand what terms will increase after the expansions and all, or how the ratios will be. Okay, so here we have a nozzle throat area which we are mentioning it as a AT1, and the diffuser throat area that we are mentioning it as a AT2. The nozzle throat is the first throat of the supersonic wind tunnel. Here we have the supersonic wind tunnel with this is the nozzle throat and this is the diffuser throat. How? The main purpose is we need to slow down the velocity. Okay, so we all know when we encounter some encounter a oblique shock and all, always the oblique shock after the oblique shock, or we after the oblique shock obviously the velocity is reducing only, but it don't get reduced to subsonic speed. Suppose we have a normal shock, means automatically we know that after a normal shock the velocity will be reduced to subsonic velocity only. But in oblique shock it won't reduce to subsonic, it will be reduced, but the velocity will be supersonic only. So if we design a nozzle, the nozzle should be such a way so that the velocity of the flow or the shock should be a normal shock, so that we can reduce the flow after the shock. Okay, so suppose we can consider like this. Suppose in a throat, if a normal shock is at the throat, means what will happen after the throat? Anyone? Any answers? Suppose we are having a normal shock that is stagnant at the throat, means what will be happen after that? If the mass flow increases also, there is mass flow also, what will be happen downstream of the session? Any answers? See, wherever there is a normal shock, after that it will be subsonic only, no matter what the mass flow. If normal shock is situated at the center of the throat and all, means automatically the shock after the shock there will be subsonic only. Only in oblique shock only the parameters will be in supersonic. Okay, okay, here we are taking the mass flow as m equal to rho av. Okay, so the velocity we are considering it as a dot, because everything is at throat only. So rho star, a star, and at1 for nozzle throat, that is equal to rho 2, u2, and at2. For u2 also we can write a2 star. Okay, so that at2 divided by at1 equal to rho 1 star a1 star divided by rho 2 star a2 star. Okay, so we know this a1 equal to a2, so that we can neglect that. So the remaining terms will be at2 divided by at1 equal to rho 1 star divided by rho 2 star. Okay, rho 1 star divided by rho 2 star. So we know rho 1 equal to, that is p equal to rho rt. These things and all already we know. So p equal to rho rt, so that by substituting it we will get rho 1 equal to p by rt. So that rt1 t1 and the temperature also we can write that equation like this also. Okay, at2 divided by at1 equal to p1 star divided by p2 star. So we know the equation for this. At the throat, p1 divided by p0 one relation, that is static and stagnation pressure ratios. We have a relation already, we know this thing and all. So based upon that relation we can write like this: p1 star equal to p01 into 2 divided by gamma plus 1 whole power gamma by gamma minus 1. Same way for p2 also. So that from this equation we can straight away write at2 divided by at1 equal to P01 divided by P02. So the total pressure always decreases across shock waves, so that P02 will be less than P1, so that automatically we can write like this: AT2 will be greater than AT1. Okay, this is the relation. So just note this alone. AT2 divided by AT1 equal to P01 divided by P02. That is stagnation pressure upstream equal to stagnation at the throat will be equal to divided by stagnation pressure at the second throat. Okay, so that this one will be always greater. Just write this term. So from this equation we can straight away say that AT2 will be this one will be greater than this throat. Okay, see, anyone tell me what will happen if AT2 will be 2 is less than AT1? That means area of the throat at the diffuser is less than area of the throat at the nozzle. Nozzle throat, what if AT1 is greater than AT2? If we are designing a supersonic diffuser with this supersonic wind tunnel with this type of throat area, what will be happening? Anyone, any idea? Suppose we are designing this type of diffusers, means automatically the flow will get choked. Okay, so there won't be any mass flow will reach the after the diffuser, the flow velocity won't decrease. That's why we are using this type of area ratio, so that we will have an exit flow throughout the exit. Okay, so for an ideal diffuser, S2 will be, the entropy will be equal to 0, because what will be happening means we will be having the isentropic compression only. So for isentropic process, S1 will be equal to S2, so that P02 will be equal to P1, or P01 will be equal to P1. Okay, but we can't maintain such things here. There will be some change in entropy, because there will be normally while designing the real flows and all, we can't make there will be some changes in the entropy because of the wall regions and all, so that there will be change in the stagnation pressure also. Okay, so that's why we can't design a ideal diffuser. So for designing the diffuser, we will be using this as area of the throat will be somewhat increased. Okay, and for a throat there will be some constant area thing for the, because for nozzle the throat will be some area will be, or the length will be small only, but for diffuser we will be having some length for the throat. That's why we have constant area throat here. From here to here the area will be same. Okay, just note these things. For an actual supersonic diffuser, S2 will be greater than, that means the entropy will be, entropy here will be greater than S1. So S2 will be greater than S1, and also the, because S2 is greater than S1, we know P02 will be less than P01. Okay, but for ideal diffusers and all, S1 will be equal to S2 and P01 will be equal to P02. Okay, Noted. Okay. Just tell me the answer for this question. For a quasi one-dimensional isentropic supersonic flow through a divergent duct, which of the following is true in the direction of the flow? Which of the following is true in the direction of the flow? So they have given a quasi one-dimensional isentropic supersonic flow through a diverging duct. Okay. So for a diverging duct, what will be happening for if we have a diverging duct for supersonic flow? Anyone? Any answer?
Mach number decreases.
Mach number decreases for a supersonic flow if you have a diverging duct. No. Actually, you're wrong. Please tell me what is the answer. See, once again I can repeat this. I will show you one diagram for this for your clarifications and all. Just remember this area Mach number relations. Okay. With this area Mach number relation, for a supersonic flow, to increase the velocity, we must have a diverging duct, and to decrease the velocity, we must have a converging duct. Okay. Understood? See, if we have a diverging duct after the throat, in the throat we will get m equal to 1. Okay. For supersonic flows and all, for throat we will get m equal to 1. After that the speed will be increased because of this diverging duct. If you are having the converging duct, means the speed will be reduced. This just remember this thing. Okay, then it will be easy for you. So now tell me the answer. Now tell me the answer for this. If you have a diverging duct for supersonic flow, they have given like isentropic also, then there will be expansion only, isentropic expansion. So for a isentropic expansion, for a diverging duct, the Mach number will be increased only. Okay, since it is an expansion, Mach number always increases. So this answer is wrong because the Mach number is decreasing. This answer is also wrong because the Mach number is decreasing. So from these two answers, just tell me the correct answer for this.
Sir, Mach number increases, static temperature decreases.
Yes. So if Mach number increases, automatically pressure will decrease. If pressure is decreasing, pressure is related to temperature, because we know P equal to P equal to rho r T. From this, if pressure increases, automatically density will also increase and also temperature will also increase. If pressure decreases, density will decrease and also temperature will also decrease. So that if Mach number is increasing means pressure will decrease. Pressure decreased means static temperature will also decrease. So the correct answer is B. Okay. So A is wrong. The correct answer is B. Okay. So next we have a problem like this. A low speed wind tunnel has a contraction ratio of 14:1 and the cross sectional area of the text section is 1 meter square. The static pressure difference between the settling chamber and the test section is 40 centimeter of water column. Assume G equal to 9.81 meter per second square. Rho of air equal to 1.2 kilogram per meter cube. Rho of water equal to density of water equal to 1000 kilogram per meter cube. The speed of air in the test section is. So wind tunnels and all we haven't finished it. Okay. Just try to solve this sum. Okay, you can you guys try to solve this sum as your assignment for this. Just note the sum and try to solve this as an assignment. Noted. Okay, we can finish this with the by solving this sum. Okay, the Mach angle for a flow at Mach 2 is mu equal to formula mu equal to sin inverse of 1 by m. Okay, substitute and find the answer. Sin inverse of 1 by m. Find the answer for this.
Sir, 30 degree.
30. What the answer is?
30 degrees, sir.
30 degree. Okay. Okay. We have finished this so that we can solve this. In a closed circuit supersonic wind tunnel, the CD nozzle and test section are followed by a CD diffuser to swallow the starting shock. Here we should have the what type of diffuser? What type of diffuser we need?
Second area field.
Just check this. No, check this. See, we have a throat area here. This is the first throat. It is very smaller only, and this is the second throat. It is larger. So we need from this equation. We can say that area of, sorry, this is not, AT2 is greater than AT1. Okay, second throat is greater than throat of initial throat, so that we can now solve this sum. Diffuser throat larger than the nasal throat, and to swallow the starting shock, what we need? From that diagram itself you can understand. See here, this two answers it is wrong, because diffuser throat is same as nasal, so we can neglect this two answer. So we have this two answers only: diffuser throat larger than the nasal throat, but shock located just at the diffuser throat. Okay, that means here we have a diagram here. See, there are shocks get reflected over this, and we have a normal shock that is located just downstream of the session. So if normal shock is situated downstream only, we will get, after this after leaving the diffuser, we will be getting the flow velocity less than 1. Okay, if it is not happening, means we won't get like the Mach number less than 1. Again it will be increasing only. Okay, so the answer is B. The diffuser throat larger than nasal throat, shock located downstream of the diffuser throat. Okay. Okay, we can finish with this also. The total pressure at a point is defined as the pressure when the flow is brought to rest. When the flow is brought to rest, what? How? Just find the answer. Easy only this.
Sir, isentropically.
Isentropically, correct. Okay, fine. So tomorrow also we have classes. Okay, today it is enough. Just try to solve that second sum what you have posted in that group. If it is still it is a risky, means I can solve. Okay, so we have solved one problem regarding that moving shock, same type only for the second sum also. Try to solve that. If you didn't get the answers for that, means because the answer is also mentioned in that question what you have posted. If you don't get the same answer, you can just message me, so that we will solve it tomorrow and all, or else when I cover that portion, we can solve that. Okay, and we haven't covered that. Hereafter what and all we need to cover is about wind tunnels, about shock tubes, then hypersonic flows and all, basics about hypersonic flows and all. Okay, so other all things I think, then method of characteristics, so we will cover all those things. Okay, then one more thing also, Rayleigh and Fano flow, that also some problems are coming regarding that Rayleigh curve and Fano curve, how the Mach number is changing and all. Problems will come like that only. They won't ask like substitute the formulas for that type of problems they are not asking, but maybe they may ask. We can't predict that, but still some problems are coming like that only, like how the Mach number is increasing for Rayleigh curve, how it is, whether it is increasing when we are heating the flow or cooling the flow, because Rayleigh flow and all we are considering that for a constant area duct with the heat transfer and some with the frictions and all. Both there is some confusions like that will come from when considering this Rayleigh flow and Fano flow. So we need to remember the concepts nicely, so that you can easily answer that questions and all. Okay, so these things and all we will cover. Other all things we have finished, and no problem, you can post whatever sums you have doubts, but try to solve that. If it is if you are feeling difficult, means you can just post me, so that when I am free I will solve that sum, or when we are having classes we can solve those sums. Okay, okay, thank you. can leave now.